A very good morning and welcome to the judges, teachers, guests, and participants of FRSIS 2022. Now, I would like to introduce our judges today. The Chief Judge is Associate Professor Tan Yasir bin Muhammad Mustafa, Deputy Director Sejahtera Center Sustainability and Humanity IIUM. The second judge is Ms. Nor Zafarini bin Norizan from SBPI Kubang Pasu. The third judge is Ms. Mila Azlinda bin Kanaruddin from SBPI Selanda. And I, Awang Muhammad Hazim Shazwan bin Awang Nazri, your moderator for today from Sekolah Menengah Sains Kuching Utara, while the timekeepers Irel Danish bin Hasrul Hanafi and Hadif Danish bin Rashidi are from Sekolah Dato Abdul Razak. Now, allow me to read the rules. First, each team should consist of presenters and a technical assistant. Secondly, the presentation must focus on the sub-team assigned to the team. Thirdly, the duration of the presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. Fourthly, the bell will ring once at the 9th minute and twice at the 10th minute. Fifthly, a question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation. Now, I would like to invite the first team, Sekolah Menengah Sains Sultan Mahmud, to present. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And greetings to the honorable judges, accurate timekeeper, and my fellow audience. Standing here today, I, Nur Arifah from SM Science Sultan Mahmud, from the team The Uncalled Forth, will be presenting Managing Social and Community Issues in Malaysia during the transition to endemic phase under sub-team 3, Providing and Providence in the endemic era. Has the government done enough? We will see the journey of our country during the COVID-19 pandemic, where the virus became a huge news to the whole world, prompting the World Health Organization to proclaim a pandemic on March 12, 2020. That is when our Prime Minister enforced the movement control order to reduce the spread of the pandemic. Not only were the education sectors were impacted, but also the health, economy, tourism, and business sectors. We are going to see how these sectors has affected the community well-being and how it has detonated the problem called social issues. We can see that government has done a few initiatives to help with the community well-being. However, the question is, have they done enough? Here is our problem statement. We can see the government's initiatives where their incentive is contributing fiscal stimulus packages, and they have set health preventive and control measures. We can see that the community well-being is being taken care of. However, social issues have not been resolved. Our research objective is derived during our studies. We are aiming to identify what the government has done to help the people and to solve the social and community issues. We are also analyzing the government's inadequate response to the community when it enters the endemic phase. We would also like to suggest what the government could do to solve the unsolved issues. Sampai problem statement. Baru lagi. Sure. Mhm.
Bukan sahabat itu. Bukan sahabat.
Tahu. Dah kenapa kau tekan pak? Kau tekan pak.
Semalam. Tak indir.
Sampai problem statement dah kan tadi?
Kamu lah. Biasanya aku tak pakai dia.
My presentation was wet anyways.
Kenapa aku dapat redo
Huh?
Dapat redo kan.
I know, but university kan nak directly is like,
Dapat terus.
huh?
Dapat terus sama. Tengok. Baca sekarang ni. Dah sempat.
Silakan.
Baca yang sikit nak. Dan dia bentuk point lah. Masuk.
Tahu, tapi dah last week.
Kenapa dari banyak?
Ah?
Kenapa kita sikit dia bentuk?
Buka
Ada sikit point lagi.
tahu, tapi masalah sekarang ni kita tak present langsung depan orang lain. Dah present dah, try kat 10 dia orang. Kita tak buat langsung. Aku biasa kena present sampai dulu. Biasa kalau aku masuk macam ni, kita tak buat langsung. Jadi jangan salahkan aku lah.
Macam salah.
Ha?
Kata aku dah.
Tak, aku dah salah kau. Jadi jangan salahkan aku.
Itu kurang mas.
Ya, kurang masa. Preparation tak ada.
Kalau tersalahkan, salahkan semua semua orang. Masing-masing.
Salah tak ni. Boleh.
A very good morning and welcome to the judges, teachers, guests, and participants of FRSIS 2022. Now, I would like to introduce our judges today. The Chief Judge is Associate Prof. Technologies Yasir bin Muhammad Mustafa, Deputy Director Sejahtera Center Sustainability and Humanity IIUM. The second judge is Ms. Noor Zafarini bin Norizan from SBPI Kubang Pasu. The third judge is Ms. Mila Azlinda binti Kanaruddin from SBPI Selanda. And I, Awang Muhammad Hazim Shazwan bin Awang Nazri, your moderator for today from Sekolah Menengah Sains Kuching Utara, while the timekeepers Iril Danish bin Hasrul Hanafi and Hadif Danish bin Rashidi are from Sekolah Dato Abdul Razak. Now, allow me to read the rules. Firstly, each team should consist of presenters and a technical assistant. Secondly, the presentation must focus on the sub-team assigned to the team. Thirdly, the duration of the presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. Fourthly, the bell will ring once at the 9th minute and twice at the 10th minute. Fifthly, a question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation. Now, I would like to invite the first team from SM Science Sultan Mahmud to present. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and greetings to the honorable judges, accurate timekeepers, and fellow audience. Standing here today, I, Nur Arifah from SM Science Sultan Mahmud from the team The Uncalled Forth, will present to you managing social and community issues in Malaysia during the transition to endemic phase. On the sub-team 3, Providing and Providence in the endemic era, has the government done enough? In today's presentation, we will see the journey of our country during the COVID-19 pandemic era, where the virus became a huge news globally to the whole world. This prompted the World Health Organization to proclaim the virus as a pandemic, and that's when our Prime Minister enforced the movement control order. Not only were the education sectors were impacted, but also health, economy, tourism, and business sectors. These sectors, we are going to see how these sectors has affected the community well-being in our society, and how this pandemic has detonated the issue called social issues. We can see that there are government's initiatives to solve the community well-being and the social issues. But the question is, has the government done enough? Here is our problem statement. We can see that there are government's initiative, and they have incentive of contributing the fiscal stimulus packages as stated by the Prime Minister in 2020. They have also set health preventive and control measures. Community well-being is being taken care of visibly, but however, some social issues have not been resolved. Our aim during this research is to identify what the government has done to help the people and to solve the social and community issues. We are also analyzing the government's inadequate responses to the community when it enters the endemic phase. We also would like to suggest what the government could do to solve the unsolved problem based on trusted sources and public opinions. Moving on to our methodology, our research design is in the form of documentation study, where we conducted content analysis to ensure that the data extracted are trustworthy, and we have extracted the data from 3 main sources, which are government documents, major newspapers, and mainstream television news. From our studies, we have found that the government has successfully executed the contribution of fiscal stimulus packages in order to lighten the burden of the recipients. The Prime Minister has stated how the Pemulih package has contributed 150 billion ringgit with a fiscal injection of 10 billion ringgit in 2020. These packages are aiming to lighten the burden and help families of lower incomes to provide gadgets for their children for them to adapt with the new learning environment. The, it also helps the unemployed people due to pandemic restriction so they can still provide food for their family. The diagram shows ringgit allocated for each stimulus in billions extracted from Ministry of Finance in 2020. For health preventive and control measures, we can see that the government has been developing herd immunity to induce a healthier community. We can see how the unvaccinated death toll during when the citizens are unvaccinated is way higher than the vaccinated ones. After vaccination, we can see that the death toll has decreased drastically. When the cases has been reduced, the Ministry of Education has stated that physical class are made possible again. And the impact from the pandemic, that they are now launching hybrid classes where physical classes are enhanced with gadgets as learning tools and they have adapted with the new norm of learning. Right now, I am presenting what is insufficient by the insufficiency in government's action. During the pandemic or the movement control order, we have found that the Minister of Women, Family and Community Development has stated that domestic abuse has increased drastically during the pandemic. There are three forms of known abuse, which are verbal, sexual, and physical abuse. Number of hackers and scammers has also rose due to financial issues. PDRM has stated that 5.2 billion ringgit has been lost to online scams in the last 2 years. During endemic phase, we have found that dropout rates has increased. A study by Amir A in 2020 in the news, the Star, 72.1 has dropped out from school as they preferred working, as continuing further studies seems to waste their time. The other one is that they have become comfortable with staying home and not going to school, therefore they have dropped out. The unemployment is also one of the critical issues. It has impacted the workers' health and mentality well-being, as people are still jobless due to the impact from the pandemic. So here's our suggestions. In managing community and social issues, we cannot deny that the fact of aspect and economy and health was successfully alleged by the government. However, due to some gaps and loopholes we found in our research, the analysis has not illustrated how the government has fully resolved the social issues, especially among teenagers, and this leads to the declining of community well-being. We would like to suggest to see what has other countries' government done to help their community. First of all, they have been combating pandemic since the outbreak. We would like to suggest that the government should observe how other countries handled the start of the pandemic. Therefore, they can quicken the transition to the endemic. New Zealand has enforced full lockdown directly after the disease spread. Taiwan has also committed to an elimination strategy where they have enforced full lockdown from the beginning of the pandemic. New Zealand also have improvised ventilation indoors to ensure that their citizens are comfortable during the lockdown. Clear air ventilations also help with reducing the spread of the pandemic. We also would like to suggest how other countries has countered social issues. Number one, we take example from New Zealand, where they have conducted an online panel survey to recognize the trouble with their citizens. They also have released the cashless psychological distress scale to see the skill of their citizens' mental health. Moving on to Singapore, they also have initiated spending health mental health promotion. They, they gave support and they detected the problems earlier. In conclusion, that based on our findings and the suggestions given, we expect that this will benefit other parties such as Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, and so on. They can take these considerations to improve their service for the benefit of the whole nation. Hence, there's an urgent need to carry out the empirical research on social well-being related to the effect of COVID-19 pandemic. Investigation should also be done to determine whether the given initiatives are sufficient to improve the community well-being and combat issues in this strengthening era of endemic. That's all from me. Thank you.
Moving on, I would like to invite the audience to ask questions. If there is
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm the representative from SBP Integrasi Batu Rakit, and I have a question for you. Great presentation, by the way. Why is it so important that we take care of our mental health during these tough times? Thank you.
So mental health will affect all of the actions we done in our daily life. So if we would like to improve the community, we also have to take care of the mental health, since if the mental health is worse, then the actions taken won't really work.
All right, thank you so much.
Testing. Hello. Thank you for preparing the slide. My name is Mama Akhtar. I am the representative for Banting Science School, and I have a question. So your other initiative is to follow other countries and implement their doings to our nation. But how can you ensure that you can move the people of our nation to do your initiative? And how can you ensure that it can better our nation? Thank you.
As we are only suggesting that perhaps the government can convince our people, and they can give out what are the pros, what are the cons of the actions. And we are so your question was to ensure
that they can do to your bidding and do your initiative.
Well, we can see that most of our people actually adores other countries, so perhaps they can take the actions into consideration, and they can see if the initiatives are better or whatnot. Yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience, for the questions. Now, I would like to invite our judge today to ask questions.
All right, hi Arifa. My question is simple. As a student, how did the research help you in your study?
As a student, it helps to see that there are more to there are more solutions to problems in this world rather than taking our own governments. We can also set other countries as examples, and we can see that which are the better ways of handling the problem.
Okay, thank you, Sister Arifah. Just a note: if there's a technical issue, okay, don't worry. This will not affect the judging. Okay, we will just judge you as what you have presented. Don't worry, will not be affected by the marks. Will not be affected by all these technical issues. Okay,
Right.
thank you, and thank you for waiting for
Right.
the
Thank
technical
you.
session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you to the judges. Now we will have a 5-minute breaks for the technical crew to set up for the next team. without further ado, let's hear from the second team from SMS Tunside Sheikh Shahabuddin to present. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Sorry, excuse me. Pardon. Thank you for having me here today. I, Muhammad Adi Zamri, the main presenter from the Providence, and this is my friend Laila. There's Abu here as well, and in the back of the camera we have Shifa. All right. So I'm here, and all of us will be speak to you about the government prudence on vaccine rollout in school. All right. First and foremost, there was an anonymous virus which could not be identified by neither the doctors nor the scientists. But in 2019, it was soon identified as coronavirus or COVID-19. Coronavirus is a large family of viruses that are known to cause illnesses that ranges from the common cold to the more Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS, and severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS. It was identified in Wuhan, China. Okay, as for the symptoms, well, there's fever, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, body aches, headaches, joint pains, runny nose, sore throat, and nausea. Moving on, well, the age group that has been the age group that has to face death is the age group of the 65 years old and above, because in the US, 81% of death that came from such diseases as coronavirus is above 81% from such age groups. Excuse me. So, how do we protect oneself since we do not know who is affected around us? First and foremost, we can maintain social distancing from one another by maintaining the distance of 1 meter. Second, we could wear face masks. Please wear a face mask if you think you are infected. Do us a favor, okay? Third, seek medical attention, because if you think you're at high risk of getting infected, go ahead to your local clinics and hospitals, get yourself a checkup. Fourth, you can get vaccinated for a prolonged protection. Now, what vaccines really are? Let's invite Laila on stage and have her present on what vaccines really are.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laila, and I'm very pleased to present about COVID-19 vaccines. All right. Everybody and everywhere should have access to COVID-19 vaccines. Countries should work towards vaccinating at least 70% of its population, prioritizing health workers and people who are from the most vulnerable groups, including people who are aged 60 years and above, and all of those who have underlying health conditions. All right. Vaccines are important as they actually can help to prevent us from getting COVID-19 by imitating an infection. This type of imitating infection can teach our body how to fight off disease by in the future. The vaccine formula contains, after vaccination, we can get some minor symptoms such as fever. So as you can see, as stated just now, there are a lot of symptoms that you can get after vaccination. So it's very normal and you should expect to have it. So how does our body respond to COVID-19 vaccine? Well, in traditional vaccines, it contains three types of substance. It's either a bacteria, virus, or a pathogen. Those things can live but weaken, be dead, or contains in a pathogen called antigen. Antigen are a type of protein that is foreign in the human substance. So when it is a part of the vaccine, they are capable to sparkling our immune system to make us produce antibodies against it. So with RNA vaccine technology, the antigen protein is not used in making vaccines to create immunity. Instead, the RNA vaccine technology is actually used to harness the natural process of COVID-19 of our cells making proteins. So
Those,
when,
the,
excuse
others.
me, so when we produce antigens, right, is in our body, the antigen will guide our body into the machines to produce antigen. Then the cells take small parts of the antigen in our body to um, display on our surface receptor, issuing a warning sign to our immune system. And then our immune system will act and produce antibodies against it. So after vaccination, and once a pathogen is recognized by our immune system, a cascade of events will occur in motion that will provide protection against the certain disease. And then the immune system will act, and then the pathogen will actually be killed, and then our body will be immune or recognize it when it comes again in the future. All right, so these are the doses of COVID-19 vaccine that will be needed in order to complete your primary doses. So we have done a survey in our school about COVID-19 vaccines. Most of our school students took 3 doses of COVID-19 vaccines, and most of them actually chose Pfizer as their main choices. 45% of our school students have actually been infected with COVID-19, and most of them have cough as their main symptom. Thus, they chose to be quarantined for about more than 7 days in order to make sure the virus is actually dead. So, about 75% of our school students said that or agreed that COVID-19 vaccines actually plays a crucial role in order to prevent COVID-19 from spreading, while other 25% declines it. So the question is, why do we need to take COVID-19 vaccine? Well, it significantly lowers their, I'm sorry, it significantly lowers
The
our risk
risk.
of getting severe illness, hospitalization, and even death if we get infected by it. So, in conclusion, COVID 19 vaccine is actually really important for us Malaysians to fight against COVID 19. Now, I'm going to pass it to my fellow teammate.
All right, so I'm here and I'm gonna explain to you guys the importance of the boosters. All right, first and foremost, Mike, you guys might be thinking, why do we actually need boosters? First and foremost, boosters are important because they helps us enhance our immune protection that will be declined over time. Excuse me. Taking boosters is necessary for those who have immunocompromised, otherwise known as weak immune system. These are the people who are required to receive booster shots. People that people that have been receiving most of the transplants, organ transplant from to cure the cancer and whatnot, are are need to take an extra COVID vaccine dose because the immune system are weak and most likely are exposed to more COVID-19 viruses during their surgery. So here are the booster dosages that they need to take, although it usually depends on which vaccine they took in the first place. So how does this relate to social issue? Well, I'll invite my friend here to explain more about it. Never mind. Katuk po. Shit. Katuk. Hmm? Katuk. Never mind. So looks like the time is up. I guess we have to end our presentation here, sadly. Okay. This is once again the Brazens, and we wish you all have a nice day. Thank you.
To continue, I would like to invite audience to ask questions. If there is no questions from the
Okay, so okay. Let me ask a question. Maybe to conclude the presentation just now, can you just like summarize how your presentation relates to the topic? Have the government done enough? And how does that relate? Whatever you told us, how does that relate to schools, vaccine in schools? And then to answer the question, have the government done enough? You can use the slide that you have not used it.
So, hmm? No, hi, ada buat sebab ada social issue.
No, just go to probably yeah. You don't have to show the data. Just tell us how do you link whatever you have presented
All right, this
to the
is
vaccine in school, and have the government done enough?
okay. Over here, we're just taking a little survey, asking our friends from school on what kind of vaccine they actually took. So we could um, we could just make a little bit of data and see how everything is going on. And this is basically just for our research so far, as the questionnaire goes. All right. As for the boosters, we did a little survey asking them about boosters, but since their age is below the recommended age, most of them did not get the boosters. Either that or they
It's okay.
took.
It's okay. Sorry, I have to cut you because we just want to to see the conclusion. Probably, can you show the conclusion of your conclusion of your presentation?
When is that conclusion?
Okay, the last slide, the slide before this. Yes, can you
The
like
before.
show us that? Okay, this one.
One more. Okay, here. All right, finally the conclusion slide. Oh my god. Okay, excuse us. Okay, so how does it relate to the our title in the first place? All right, we've shown how vaccine can protect ourselves and the importance of vaccine boosters and whatnot. So this is where the government comes in. The price of the vaccine is quite high, especially for B40 students, obviously, because it costs 300 ringgit for every Malaysian. In other words, the government has spent 89 4.64 billion to buy 87.9 million vaccines for all Malaysians. Mm. As such, here are the stats and how much vaccine the government has spent each on each type.
So can you answer? Have the government done enough?
Okay, so far on the vaccine standpoint, yes, we can say the government has done enough on the vaccine standpoint. But on other standpoints, like the MCO and also some of the social issues, they have not done enough and well because, like the previous presenter he said, mental health is important, right? Here we only show that the government only cared about the immunity, which is both good, but which is both good,
Immunization.
but and excuse me, sorry, this wasn't anticipated. On the first part, on the vaccination, yes, they have done a good job. They also have done this, the priority package for the students who are facing poverty. Even though with such money they have been poured onto these students, it has shown during the MCO that it is not really enough, as the economy of the country is getting worse and worse by each day.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe one
All
more.
right, so a very good afternoon.
All right.
I'm from Academy Science Bandang, and earlier you mentioned about what RNA vaccines are, right? Is that correct? Yeah. So now I'm just wondering, what's the difference between like RNA vaccines and other types, such as inactivated virus vaccines and also viral vector vaccines? Because choosing the correct type of vaccine is quite important for the government in order to, help the people.
All right. So the different types of vaccine, and especially on how they work, on the proteins and how they produce the antibodies, really differ from people to people. Some people are unable to take the RNA vaccine, and hence they have to choose the other types of vaccine, like the ones you mentioned earlier. So different types of vaccine really depends on each people. Like in the previous slides, I did mention that specific people requires specific types of vaccine and also specific dosages of boosters. Same goes
All
with
right.
vaccine.
Thank you.
All right.
Very good afternoon,
Right.
and thank you for the presentation just now. I have a question. So, in line with the 11th Sustainable Development Goal, which is to providing a safe communities, do you think the government has done enough in order to achieve that goal?
Okay. So wait, isn't this a repetitive question? Oh well. Anyways, so far we think the government is trying to do, but it's not really enough of a prudence. So far, we've seen the government done only on the vaccination, and that's the only part where they almost succeed, but some people still do not want to get vaccinated, don't they? On the other parts of the social issues, they are unable to control it, like on the ones on the social media, like fake news, and also um, insults and violence, domestic abuse, right?
Thank you.
All right.
Hello, team. Don't worry, I don't have a question. Just a few comments based on your slide,
All
yeah?
right.
Because you're going to do this for your tertiary education and more. So I think this goes to all teams, okay? So for your slide, next time, please be mindful with how you choose your font, okay? Because this type of font, you have to be careful when it comes to the size and the color, okay? Overall, it's a cute slideshow, all right? But some of them were quite small and unclear to be read, okay? Okay, so try to stick with the simple ones, okay? Because font choices and font sizing is very important when it comes to visual aid, kan? Because for example, in the earlier, yeah, for this one pun, so at least for your text, you have to make sure that your text
All right.
size is at least at 30. Make sure 30 lah,
All
kan?
right.
Memang standard, right, doctor? Memang standard. Yeah, it's quite unclear. Okay,
Okay.
all right, good
Thanks for the
job.
comment.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you to the judges and audience. Now we will have a 5-minute break for the technical crew to set up for the next team. Thank you.
Tes mic 1 2 cuba answer 1 2 dan 3.
Hello, testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Test, test. Test, test. 1, 2, 3, test. Powerful. Jangan test. One.
Good afternoon and welcome to the judges, teachers, guests, and participants of FRSIS 2022. Now, I'd like to introduce our judges today. Chief Judge is Associate Professor Tan Sri Yasil bin Muhammad Mustafa, Deputy Director Sejahtera Center Sustainability and Humanity, IIUM. Second Judge is Mrs. Noor Zafarini binti Norizan from SBPI Kubang Pasu. Third Judge is Miss Mila Azlinda binti Kanarudin from SBPI Selanda. And I, Azhani Sofia from SM Science Selangor, while the timekeepers, Iril Danish bin Hasrul Hanafi and Hadif Danish bin Roshidi are from Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak. Now, allow me to read the rules. Firstly, each team should consist of presenters and a technical assistant. Second, the presentation must focus on the sub-theme assigned to the team. Third, the duration of the presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. Fourth, the bell will be rung once at the 9th minute and twice at the 10th minute. Lastly, a question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation. Now, I would like to invite the first team from Sekolah Menengah Sains Batu Pahat to present.
And for that, the government decided to carry out a movement control order throughout the country. Assalamualaikum and greetings are bid to the Honourable Educators and fellow members of the floor. We are from Sekolah Menengah Sains Batu Pahat and our topic is inequality of financial assistance and medical services. Has the government done enough? COVID-19 pandemic is the greatest communicable disease outbreak to have hit Malaysia. The first wave of 22 cases occurred with no death and full recovery of all cases. And the ongoing second wave, which commenced on the February 27th, presented cases in several clusters, the biggest of which was the Sri Petaling Tablet cluster. We can say the epidemic, Malaysia implemented a movement control order, MCO, beginning on March 18th in 4 phases for over 2 months. And to manage the raw situation, the government giving out financial aid during the pandemic phase. One of them being bantuan Prihatin Rakyat and also special COVID aid. Our healthcare system is at the breaking point. The former Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin began stressing on how bad the COVID-19 threat wave is affecting Malaysia, with daily 4-digit cases being recorded since the end of November. He says that the hospitals across Malaysia and also the nation's healthcare system is under tremendous pressure and unprecedented measures will have to be taken. With that being said, to announce that the second movement control order, MCO 2.0, will be implemented for 14 days in 6 states across Malaysia. The government has unveiled PERMAI, its fifth economic stimulus economic package up to date, with 15 billion ringgit spread over 22 initiatives aimed at combating the COVID-19 outbreak, safeguarding the welfare of the people, and supporting business continuity. Thankfully, after many sacrifices made by both the government and the society, thankfully our country has finally reached to the so-called victory, which is the endemic phase starting from last April. However, many people have turned a blind eye about the issues going on during the endemic phase, such as the financial assistance problems and also the lack of medical services throughout the country. Ladies and gentlemen, over 37,000 small and medium-sized enterprises were unfortunately being forced to shut down. As you can see here, these are all the problems that the sector is currently facing during the endemic. William Ng, chairman of the Small and Medium Enterprises Association Malaysia, Samantha, have revealed that some SFEs have opted to decline orders to avoid incurring losses for failing to deliver. Therefore, after all of these problems have been notified by the government, a few initiatives have been carried out, with a target to lend a hand to the authorities who are affected. One of them being Bantuan Keluarga Malaysia, BKM, which provides direct cash assistance to the targeted groups, and these groups being B40 households and singles, senior citizens, and also single parents. Sadly, the scheme were not enough to resolve the issues that the society are currently facing during the endemic phase. For example, our country's inflation causes the empathy group who were ineligible to receive the scheme seems to face difficulties in providing the basic needs for their family. The issues that is happening in the BKM is that the lack of transparency in terms of eligibility and also its one-off payment. On the Facebook page, we found that some users shared their status ineligible to receive the BKM assistance, and according to them, the relevant parties such as the Inland Revenue Board are reviewing the applicants who were ineligible to receive the schemes. This is because many have previously claimed that they are eligible to receive previous assistance such as Bantuan Prihatin Nasional and also Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat. And this is happening because the scheme, the BKM, only focus on the B40 group and not aware that other groups are facing bigger problems. Besides that, the empathy group, especially in urban areas, are not getting enough attention by the government too. Due to the high living costs, they can be considered as poor and sometimes need more help than a B40. It's not enough for them to be categorized as empathy solely based on the salary slip paper. Another issue is the schemes only give out one-off payments to the recipients, and these efforts only help the individuals in the short term. So the government should review the appropriate value for the cash assistance given through the scheme so that it is in line with the current development of our country. So the initiative that we would like to suggest in order to overcome this issue is the government improvising the IRB portal to review the financial aid eligibility for the applicants. This includes all the groups out there like B40 and 40 and others that are involved. Another thing to keep in mind is that instead of going through the individual salary slip, the government should be more aware of the total of liabilities that the individual has. The way this initiative can be carried out effectively is by what I have just mentioned, improvising the IRB portal. But how? Okay, first I would like to state the problems that currently ongoing with this portal. So on this page, the application forms are too complex for the applicants to fill in their eligibility or financial status. Therefore, this makes people have hard time in applying the BKM assistance because they were unable to identify their eligibility and could not fill in the form efficiently. Hence, this will result to the relevant parties, to the respected parties, to not successful in organizing or in
identifying or reviewing the eligibility for the applicants. And in order to fix this issue, our initiative is that the portal provide specific application form for each type of groups. With this improvement implemented into the portal, all the applicants can fill in their eligibility with only the needed information without worrying about the irrelevant aspects as what is in the current application forms. And therefore, the eligibility of the applicants can be determined accurately. This eventually could help the respected parties to organize the data regarding the eligibility of the applicants smoothly. And why do we say this is because the data that is received from the portal will be transferred into a specific file. And in this file, the portal will automatically rank all the applicants from the most to the least needed in receiving the BKM assistance. So from that, the respected parties can start by giving out the cash for the first 20% of the most eligible applicants based on the ranking. Thus, this will be a great help in identifying the eligibility of the applicants so that the given out cash can be distributed productively.
Apart from that, medical services are also lacking in terms of efficiency and coverage. Even though Malaysia has entered endemic phase a long time ago, it was imperative that the healthcare providers continue to rise to the challenges left behind by both COVID-19 and economic uncertainties. There are numerous challenges including staffing, having enough beds, equipment, medicine, and as well as isolation facility during the endemic. In the past few months during the endemic, the healthcare providers are always running low of the stock of some of medicine. Another great example is Deputy Health Minister Dato Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali said, the unprecedented COVID-19 over the past 2 years was indeed a wake-up call for us. He said that at the opening ceremony of the Healthcare Conference 2022. Dr. Azmi also said, although the healthcare industry has demonstrated resilience and ability to bring new product, technology, innovation, and also services to the market quickly under such hard pressure and demands, the public and private sector were yet to be perfectly integrated during the endemic phase. Other than that, medical treatment is also not sufficient enough in combating COVID-19 disease. So the initiative that we like to suggest medical services in our country is to improvise the help from PPP, Public-Private Partnership, PHAMA, Pharmaceutical Association of Malaysia, MMA, Malaysia Medical Association, and the last one is APHM, Association of Private Hospital Malaysia, said their collaborative effort in reducing the burden on public healthcare providers eventually help in reducing the burden of public healthcare conference during the endemic phase. These include hospital, clinic, outpatient care center, specialized care center, clinical delivery services, and the last one is special private facility. So, how can we carry out this initiative? This initiative can be carried out by using MySejahtera application. By connecting it with the IRB portal that we just mentioned, every data and information can be updated into MySejahtera so that their eligibility can be determined throughout the application. Why we choose the application at the first place? It is because almost everyone has MySejahtera in their phone. In addition, MySejahtera also has provided a lot of medical features, for example, blood donation, organ donation, and many more. However, this feature is not giving enough option for the people to get their specific medical treatment. So in order to solve this problem, this app need to add a new feature to determine their financial status to indicate which medical facility they can go to get treatment. This will ensure everyone gets better medical treatment experience at both private hospital and even public hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring our presentation to a close, I want to thank you all of you for being here and see our today. To summarize our presentation, first of all, we've been able to explain about financial assistance that is provided by the government that is lacking in its term of eligibility and its one of payment. And don't forget about the medical services, it is also lacking in term of efficiency and coverage. To some this to overcome this problem, we have suggested some initiative that can be carried out by the government itself. We hope government can look deeper into this topic so that the society could heal and live happily from this endemic era. Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting presentation. Now, I would like to invite the audience to ask questions.
Well, then I would like to invite the judges to ask questions.
Okay, assalamualaikum to both of you. All right, just a simple questions. Okay, what would be your biggest challenge when you conducted this sub team? Thank you.
Okay, our biggest challenge when we conducted this team is because, okay, regarding the sub team 3, providing in Providence in the endemic era, has the government done enough? We acknowledge that the government has provided everything, that has provided a lot of sacrifices for the society. So the biggest challenges that we face is that we want to choose which providing a providence that is not enough. So that's why we chose the financial assistance and the medical services, like in terms of medical services, so that because it is like we think the major problems that the society are currently facing, and also we believe that with the initiative that we suggested, hopefully the society can live a better life during the enemy era and so on. Alright.
Sorry, thank you for the presentation. It was very nice. Apart from the two things that you mentioned that can be improved, is there any other things that you think could be improved as well, or the government has not done enough?
Okay. I think regarding the financial assistance, maybe in terms of the amount of the cash assistance given through, but or like the amount of subsidies, but we cannot like really propose initiatives based on our preferences, because we know that the government will also be affected when they when they did something to the society. But honestly, we think, to be honest, we think that maybe in terms we acknowledge that the country is facing a very the country is facing a major economic downfall. But then we cannot like force the government to do everything at one time. But in terms of subsidies and also the amount of the cash assistance, we think it's still not enough for the society.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you to the presenters. We will now take a 5-minute break.
Test, 1, 2.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Test.
1 2 3. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
1.
Test 1 2 3. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hah? Aku lupa ni.
let's hear from the second team from Sekolah Menengah Sains Hulu Terengganu to present.
The COVID-19 pandemic, a tragedy that has had a huge impact on various aspects of our daily lives. Now that we have entered the endemic phase, we have got ourselves numerous issues to be solved in order to return to our normal and peaceful lives. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, and a very blessed day I bid to the respected members of this floor. Our mission for throughout this symposium is simple: to investigate and unearth issues surrounding the government initiatives of the students' current situation in the endemic era. Now, before we unravel the findings that we have in store, I believe that it is paramount for us to bridge a rapport to ease the transition of information. Hailing from the East, I am proud to say that my team will be representing our school, Hulu Terengganu Science School, also known as Sahut, to share and gather information regarding providing and Providence in the endemic era and how it interacts with our great nation. Working as the backbone of our mini research team, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present my two research advisor and technical crew members, Muhammad Hafiz bin Zubair and Nur Dami Afrina binti Ahmad Zamri. Their role in supporting our research should be noted through the path of research, which in later minutes be presented to the honorable guests here. Next is my partner in search of knowledge, the second speaker who will accompany us all in uncovering the mysteries behind today's question, Nur Adani Inshirah binti Zakaria. And finally, your host for today to lead this sharing of knowledge session. My name is Umar Hakim bin Arif, and it is my greatest pleasure to be the first speaker for this session. Now, without further ado, I'd like my partner to continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Umar, for the kind introduction. Now, to start our presentation, let's take a quick overview of the current situation involving students in our country. After facing about 1 year curfew, the government has inaugurated the transition from pandemic to endemic phase. During this phase, students not only in Malaysia but also all over the world has shown a rise of introverts. Furthermore, based on one of Utusan Malaysia's article regarding the students' behavior after the pandemic, majority of students is experiencing loss of soft skills. It is also stated that some students face difficulties in learning. In order to verify the following problems, we have conducted a survey that accumulates 143 responses from people of different ages. The survey consists of three main questions. Question 1, what methods do you use to communicate during pandemic? Question 2, sorry for the pardon spelling mistake. Are you comfortable communicating with people of different ages? And last question is, how long do you normally talk with your friends after the pandemic? These are some of example of responses from various students. So Uma, can you explain in more depth about our findings through the survey?
All right, Adni. So, based on our results that we mentioned before, we have concluded three types of students. Type 1, students that can communicate as usual. Type 2, students that can still communicate as usual, but only with certain people. And type 3, student that has gotten less confidence to engage in conversation. Moving on to this question, we managed to identify that 58% of students has gotten less confidence to engage in conversation, and only 32% can still communicate as usual. And the remaining 10% consists of students who can communicate as usual, but only with certain people to their liking. Now, this worrying outcome has proved that our community really is facing a significant increase of introvertness. Moving on to the question, A study conducted by Rafi'i in 2017 has concluded that students that displaying qualities of introvert, suffers a general lower average score in their English language test result. This is shown to carry similarly to other language-related subjects. Supporting this, another research conducted by Braden and Smith in 2006 suggests that unintended large group of introverted students can lead to students disengaging in the school's current learning environment. Hence, based on these literatures, it is within reasons to believe that the current state of uneasiness of communicating can impact our social norms at a national level. Now, the government need to play a big role in order to try and tackle this problem. So, what is the government's effort in dealing with this problem?
Among the initiatives that have been done by the government to try and handle this problem is organizing more social activities such as co-curriculum and co-academic competition like debate, public speaking, and many more. The government has also encouraged teachers to implement group activities during learning session to produce two-way interaction among the students. And lastly, cross-agency collaboration arranged by the government help to facilitate students' affairs. For example, Sahut's Police Cadet Unit has collaborated with the nearest police station to borrow uniform for a food parade competition. This can lead to interaction between the schools and the other parties. As a result of the government initiative that we presented before, students students are slowly restoring their confidence to communicate. For example, students are started volunteering to read the text and explain what they have learned about the subject to their friends. More than that, student has overcome the fear of engaging in conversation. For example, more students are able to start conversation with strangers. Besides, the efficiency to communicate in front of a large audience has shown significant improvement. And lastly, more high quality arguments are being produced by students across Malaysia.
All right, now that we have witnessed the government's effort in order to try and tackle this problem, we would like to propose a few suggestions regarding this problem. Firstly, now that teachers across Malaysia are getting busier in preparation for the SPMs, why not, instead of using teachers, schools held a mentor-mentee program involving parents to build confidence in cross-age communication. Furthermore, in Malaysia, most of the NILAMS program is conducted individually. Meanwhile, in countries like the United Kingdom or the United States, their NILAM-like program is usually carried in groups where each one of them need to present an interesting synopsis in front of a large audience. This can be implemented in Malaysia so that we can produce students that can present themselves in terms of information delivery. Sure. La ilaha illallah. May I continue? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, to summarize our presentation, we are able to identify the problem that occurs as we enter the endemic phase and the initiatives that the government has made to solve it. We have also explained the impact of introvertness in education and the effects of the government's initiative. The pandemic has definitely served its purpose as an eye-opener on how one's life can drastically change due to their surroundings. As a knowledgeable society, it is our job to recognize the importance of the problems that we have mentioned before, so that maybe we could try and help students to unlock their full potential. That is all we have to say in this span of 10 minutes. Thank you all for listening to the end.
Thank you for the informative presentation. Now I would like to invite the audience to ask questions.
All right. Hi. Good afternoon, guys. So, I'm from Academy Science Pendang, and earlier, I've noticed that the presentation revolves a lot around introversion, right?
Yes.
But how are you guys so sure that it's introversion? Like, shouldn't we also address like the heavy reliance on technology during the pandemic? Because during the pandemic, we have been relying quite heavily on technologies, right? So yeah, how do you address that in order to, help students?
Sudden a bit unclear. Can you?
Oh, basically, how do you address the heavy reliance on technologies? Like it is also related to introversion, right? Yeah. So what about that part?
Okay, we cannot deny that heavy reliance on technology does take a huge toll on students' introvertness. So we cannot deny that. So even though majority of them, me myself is still new at the fully residential school, so I can observe that students from the pandemic still cannot already use to using their tablets, their phones to communicate with each other. So yeah, the total sum still affected by the usage of technology. I hope this answers the question.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
So just now you have listed some of your problem statement, and one of them includes the COVID-19 pandemic caused the rise of introversion. However, I find a problem with using the word introversion since Carl Jung himself, the creator of this ambivert extrovert and introvert concept, admitted that extrovert and introvert are both the extremes on the personality index, and most people in the world are ambiverts. And he also admitted that introversion and extroversion is subjective instead of objective concept. So I don't think we can use introversion in to prove your theory, since introversion is subjective to the individual instead of a valid or objective and scientific concept. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, we cannot deny what brother has said just now, but I think in our presentation, we use this introversion as a concept to symbolize what happened to the students in Malaysia. Since we cannot really find a way to symbolize it in a better way, then put introversion as the symbol. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think thank you for the presentation. It's a good presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you to the presenters. Now we would like to take a 5-minute break for the technical team to prepare for the next team.
Lalu tepi tu ke sana? Lalu tepi tu. Nak masuk kat sini lalu tepi ni lah. Alright, thank you.
Now, I would like to invite the third team from SBPI Gopeng to present.
The rapid spread of the COVID-19 virus is challenging government to act in ways normally reserved for wars and natural disaster. Rather than offering specific policy recommendations, we will look at how governments structured their decision-making towards progressive response to the community. Before I begin, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Standing here, I am Nur Alia Shahirah binti Muhammad Shahid, together with my fellow team members, Muhammad Akil Isma bin Idris Saidi, Muhammad Isma Hafiz bin Muhammad Amizal, and Nur Ayuni Kristina binti Rosti. We are Team Victinal, representative from SBP Integrasi Gopeng. First and foremost, let us begin with the background of our study. It all started from 25th January 2020, where the first COVID-19 cases were detected. Eventually, 3 phases of MCOs have been conducted for 5 weeks. These MCOs had caused rising in global economic upheaval, which direct to human consequences. Here, we can see that MCO leads to long-term effects to the community and brings socio-economic decadence in most families. According to the survey by Department of Statistics Malaysia, this happened due to unemployment or retrenched and terminated workers, wage reduction, and no payment leave. Hence, the rate of poverty among medium-wage employees and bankruptcy in businesses accelerated. Here, we display 8 packages provided by the government to support the community persistently. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our research, Malaysia on the Move, providing and Providence for the community. In preparation to shift phase pandemic to endemic, the government has leveled up its measure to support human cost and economy disruption by coming out with recovery plan. However, the impacts are far-reaching and incomprehensive towards the society. So, a study was conducted to evaluate the significant impacts of the government's aids and funds towards the community, where we would like to see how it affects them economically and socially. In order to expound the validity of the study, 5 subjects that live in Perak were chosen from different socioeconomic background were chosen. Our study is a qualitative research in which we prepared semi-structured interview question, and then we coordinate interview session, and lastly, we analyze the findings compiled. Now, Isma, let us show the audiences our first subject. Our first subject, Mr. Muhammad Amizal bin Mansur, who was a fishmonger at a morning market in Greek Perak. So, as MCO took place, his business experienced huge loss along the quarantine period. Owing to this case, Geran Khas Prihatin gave out 1,000 ringgit and 500 ringgit. Furthermore, Mr. Amizal also managed to withdraw his EPF money to start new business by selling ornamental plants. Thankfully, his business began to develop. At the same time, Rizda also approved 20,000 ringgit, particularly 10,000 ringgit in 2021 and another 10,000 ringgit in 2022. As a result, Mr. Amizal became one of the most successful small gardener in Great Perak. Our second subject that we have interviewed is Madam Lachimi Anshuman, lives in Sitiawan. So, Madam Lachimi is a single mother of 4 schooling children and a cleaner at a food court with salary 600 ringgit monthly. Everything started when her ex-husband, who was a truck driver, got arrested due to drug addiction and car theft. Consequently, the burden was all put on her shoulder until the family's economy decelerated. So, during the middle phase of the pandemic, the government has provided the community with Bantuan Prihatin Nasional. Fortunately, Madam Ashuman was eligible, thus she received one of 1,000 ringgit and 600 ringgit. Moreover, My Kasih program also offered her with 300 ringgit per month since 2021. So you can see that Madam Lachimi is still surviving because fortunately she has a job and monthly monetary funds from the government. Next, we have Ms. Haida Farzana Isma binti Idris Saidi, locally from Ipoh and currently studying in International Islamic University of Malaysia. So for your information, Ms. Haida is now in her final semester of engineering study. During the pandemic, we all know that almost all university students, including Ms. Haida, was forced to study at home through online distance learning. So from the Permula program under BPN, one of 150 ringgit was channeled via e-wallet credit. Even so, the monetary did not benefit her in a long term. On the other hand, Ms. Afika Bashira binti Ismail, who was a waitress in a Manjong restaurant, chose to quit due to business downturn. Alternatively, Ms. Afika decided to change her passion in baking into a job, and she uses Instagram as her working platform and gain much profits from this work. Our subject 4 received Bantuan Prihatin Nasional under Kita Prihatin Government's Aids, in which 1,000 ringgit and 600 ringgit were channeled in meeting her family's crucial basic needs and also covering her mother's medical expenses. In spite of our last subject, we found it really hard to believe when we first saw Mr. Shadiq bin Qasim, a homeless man in Lumut. In this picture, you can see that Mr. Shadiq was collecting waste, cans, and bottles from the trash bin. It is proven that these kind of people still exist in our country. Mr. Shadiq was actually a janitor of a building at Samudra Baru and fully depended on his 500 ringgit wage per month. At the early phase of the pandemic, his job was secured, but till then, the management needed to minimize the number of employees. Therefore, Mr. Shadiq received 300 ringgit as compensation when he was terminated. Apart from that, Mr. Shadiq was also kicked out from his rented house due to unpaid rent. Sadly, he ended up being homeless as well as a beggar and a waste collector. The only thing that he received was annual zakat from Islamic State Department, known as Baitul Mal. Needless to say that Mr. Shadiq got less concern and notice either from the government or society. Fellow audiences, we have reached the outcome of our research. Now, let us begin with the findings of our research. So, based on our research, 2 out of 5 subjects are from B40 household, while other 3 are surprisingly, sadly, below poverty line income, shortly PLI. As much as they are very grateful for aids and funds provided by the government, However, due to our current economic situation in which prices of goods are relatively high, they face economic issues every single day. Yet, another research done by Department of Statistics Malaysia reported that M40 households are the most affected following the rounds of job losses and salary cuts. Thus, M40 group endure the largest decline in income. To understand the situation better, we can sum up that COVID-19 has imposed long-term financial effects to the lower income group in our country, namely M40, B40, and not to forget PLI. Meanwhile, P20 is the only group which is not affected out to financial stability long before COVID-19 outbreak. So our research also looked into changes in lifestyle post-pandemic. According to all of our subjects, they experienced some changes in their life that they have to adapt with. After the pandemic, there are increase in number one, density of social network, number two, business creativity, family breakups, debts, health awareness, and innovation. In the meantime, there are also drops and decline in buying power, interest in education, human mobility, mental health, savings, and lastly, human activities. In conclusion, we in conclusion, we propose the government and community for long-term recovery program. As for the government, we detected that the monetary funds are limited, short-term by nature, and require high qualification. Therefore, we suggest the government to, number one, increase speed of giving approval for aids and funds. Number two, increase amount. Number three, long-term aids. And lastly, educate the society on creative entrepreneurship. As for the community, we totally agree with the idea of having the society to master saving and financial management, cultivate creativity in terms of business, working people and students to ensure more resilient response to maintain stable well-being. Despite summary of our research, we have come up with 3 new research questions. So, firstly, the efficacy of online learning among B40 students. Secondly, the level of mental health deterioration among fully residential students post-pandemic. And lastly, number 3, students' readiness to go back to normal. That's marked the end of our presentation. On behalf of my team, special thanks we bid to the honorable judges and all members of the floor for your kind attention. We, Team Victinal from SPP Integrasi Gopeng, signing off.
Thank you for the amazing presentation. Now, I would like to invite the audience to ask questions.
Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, tajahau, ipadi vanikam to my audience, judges, and my fellow SPPI Gopeng friends. So I would like to ask you, why does your new research question is a student-based research?
All right, thank you, young man, for the question. So, if you look back into the social changes, there are declines and drops in interest in education. So, for our next research, according to our new research question, we would like to know how the students, especially in fully residential students, are coping with online distance learning along the pandemic, because we students personally facing the same problem as how they are enduring. So we would like to do a more in-depth interview with the students to know how they are coping with the situation.
Hello. All right. Good presentation. Good job. Okay. So my question is on your methodology. Could you please tell us how did you choose your subjects? Yeah, because so you have a total of 5 subjects, right? So I'm wondering, how did you find these subjects? Because they came from different backgrounds.
Yes.
Yeah. Please walk us through that.
Correct. So thank you for the question, ma'am. So
Two out of our subject is actually related to us, in which one of them are my friend's sister and one of them is my friend's father. So it's much easier to interview them. But other three, two of them, we reach out from okay. Let us focus on Mr. Shadid, because we think that he is the most hard subject for us to actually reach out. When we first saw him, we approached him, asked permission to ask his condition for that time being. So mostly how we find him is actually based on our parents, parents, working parents, friends. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good presentation. Another question. How can, from your proposal, the proposals that you mentioned in your conclusion, how can that proposals help people like Pak Shahid just now? How can your suggestions help him?
Sorry, meaning that
How can this, if the government did this, or if something like this happens, how can people like Pak Shahid be assisted or changed?
So we believe that it is all from the collaboration from the society to cooperate with the government, and government themselves may do like survey to reach out the far-reaching group like Pak Cik Shadid, Mr. Shadid, um so that the monetary funds can be channeled equally to all parts and groups of community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all judges for your time. Then I guess this is the end of the session. Thank you.